All right, strap yourselves in for this deep dive. It's a strange one. We're going to be looking at um, a therapist's experience, a firsthand account of this encounter, and it gets kind of blurry between anorexia, bullying, and something else. A lot more disturbing.
It really makes you question what we think we know about mental health and reality, really.
So the therapist is working with this young woman, Lucy. She is battling severe anorexia. But things take a turn that this therapist, who's seen a lot, couldn't have predicted.
And the source material, it really focuses in on one particular session, an art therapy session. That's kind of the start of all these weird and disturbing events.
Okay, so the therapist has Lucy draw herself. Pretty standard, right? To kind of explore self-image. But the drawing Lucy makes, it's not her. Not even close.
Yeah, and it's not just like stylistic choices or anything. Lucy draws herself with curly hair when she has straight hair, hazel eyes instead of dark brown, and a scar on her cheek. That isn't there in reality.
Now, alarm bells would be going off in my head for sure. Is this body dysmorphia, hallucinations? Is this something else entirely?
And to make it even weirder, when the therapist asks Lucy, "What do you see when you look in the mirror?" Lucy says she sees this other girl,
Oh.
the one from the drawing, staring back at her.
Okay, but they take a picture of Lucy, a photo, and the photo shows Lucy. Thin, frail, but her. It's only in the mirror that this other girl appears. What's that about?
It's a fascinating detail. It almost suggests that whatever Lucy is seeing, it's connected to her reflection,
Hmm.
to her own perception of herself, rather than, an objective external reality. And that scar that Lucy drew, Lucy insisted it just like showed up one day and she couldn't, wash it off or anything, like it was permanent or, I don't know, pigmentation or something. But again, only in the mirror, not in photos.
Now I'm creeped out. I bet the therapist is starting to feel a little creeped out too, right? I mean, this is way beyond like typical anorexia.
Yeah. Absolutely. The therapist is a trained professional. They've encountered all sorts of, issues, but even they are starting to think they might be losing it, losing their grip on reality.
What happens next? How do you even help Lucy when, you're both questioning what's even real?
Well, the therapist, they try to ground Lucy, try to bring her back to the present moment. They even show Lucy the photo they took, trying to prove to her what she really looks like. But when Lucy looks back in the mirror,
Oh, I bet that didn't go well.
not quite. The other girl in the mirror is now like visibly angry.
Hmm.
And that anger, it seems to be directed at the therapist.
Okay, hold on. So we went from a distorted self-image to a potentially malevolent presence. That's a big jump, even for us, for this deep dive.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But, the therapist describes this shift in a very matter-of-fact way, almost as if they're trying to convince themselves that this is actually happening.
So what does this entity, what does it do next? Does it talk? Does it speak to the therapist?
That's when it gets chilling, really chilling. The therapist is holding Lucy's hand, trying to, calm her down. And they describe this feeling of like suddenly not being able to see Lucy's face anymore. Just this other girl's face in the mirror, filled with rage.
I have chills. I would be freaking out. Is the therapist freaking out?
You think so, right? But the source material suggests that the therapist, in spite of their fear, is also incredibly curious. They're still trying to rationalize what they're seeing, wondering if maybe this is like a shared hallucination with Lucy.
But if it is, wouldn't they both be seeing the same thing?
That's a good point. And it's one that the therapist seems to be thinking about, too. But before they can even consider that, the girl in the mirror actually speaks, using Lucy's voice.
Oh, come on. How's this therapist not running away? I mean, most people would have bolted when the drawing was wrong.
Well, remember, the therapist is working under the assumption that there has to be a rational explanation for this. And besides, what this entity says is so unexpected, so chilling, it probably froze the therapist right there.
What does it say?
It says, "You will not cure her. She does not deserve to be cured. She deserves to hate herself, the way I hated myself."
Whoa, that is not just typical teenage angst. It's like this entity has this deep-seated resentment towards Lucy, almost like it wants to punish her.
Exactly. And that statement, that's what takes this whole case from a psychological, puzzle to something way more complex and disturbing. Who is this entity and what is its connection to Lucy?
It sounds like we're about to head into the supernatural, and I am both terrified and very, very intrigued.
Well, you're in luck, because the source material actually tells us who this entity is. Her name is Anna, And her story, well, it sheds light on the dark side of teenage relationships and the lasting effects of trauma. But that's for part two of this deep dive. So last time, this entity in the mirror had some pretty harsh words, hinting at some deep resentment toward Lucy and wanting to make her suffer.
Yeah, and it definitely left me wanting more. So who is this Anna, and how is she connected to Lucy? You mentioned trauma. What happened?
Well, the therapist, very practical even when faced with the impossible, decides to try and talk to this entity to understand why it's haunting Lucy. And that's when we learn about Anna's past.
That's where the therapist's approach is so interesting, right? It's not like they're trying to, exercise her or anything. They're treating her like a patient, trying to figure out what makes her tick.
Exactly. They're trying to bridge this gap between psychology and the supernatural, acknowledging the possibility of a haunting while still trying to understand the emotional uh, dynamics at play. And through careful questioning, Anna reveals that she was bullied relentlessly, throughout her teenage years, taunted for her weight, her looks. And Lucy, who was friends with the bully, she didn't stand up for Anna. In fact, Anna says Lucy even laughed at her.
Oof. That's rough. That kind of adds another layer to Lucy's anorexia, doesn't it? It's not just about like society or distorted self-image anymore. It's about guilt, the trauma of seeing someone suffer and not doing anything.
Yeah. And Anna makes it clear that she wants Lucy to feel the same pain and self-hatred that she went through. It's a twisted kind of revenge, but it shows just how much Anna was hurt and her wanting some kind of justice.
So now the therapist is dealing with two really hurt people, both trapped in their own cycle of pain. What can they even do at this point?
They do something pretty bold. The therapist decides to confront Anna, not about her anger, but the pain behind it. They tell Anna, "You're a beautiful girl, and I'm sorry you were made to think differently, that the world made you feel like you weren't enough when you so clearly are."
Wow, that's a powerful statement, especially in this situation.
Yeah.
But is it enough to get through to Anna? I mean, she's a supernatural entity with a serious grudge.
Yeah, you'd think not, right? But there's something about the therapist's, sincerity, their willingness to see Anna's pain and acknowledge her worth, that catches Anna off guard. She initially rejects the therapist's words, calls them bullshit, but you can sense a change in her, like a crack in her armor.
So the therapist is actually making progress. They're getting through to Anna on some level.
It seems so. And they take it a step further. The therapist reaches out and hugs Anna, offering comfort and support.
Wait, hold on. They hugged a ghost. That's either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. I'm not sure which.
It's definitely not your typical therapy session, but there's something about that physical gesture crossing the line between the living and the dead. It seems to break down Anna's defenses. She breaks down, sobbing, finally letting out years of grief and anger.
Man, that's actually really sad. You can't help but feel for Anna, even though she's been, tormenting Lucy. It shows how complicated bullying is, how it affects everyone.
Yeah, it does. And it also shows the power of empathy and validation. Even when you're dealing with seemingly unstoppable anger and resentment.
So what happens after Anna breaks down? Is she gone? Is Lucy free?
Not exactly.
Mm.
It seems like catharsis, even for a supernatural being, can be messy. Anna, overwhelmed, lunges at the therapist, and, well, let's just say things get weirder.
Weirder? How's that even possible at this point?
The therapist describes this feeling of being taken over,
Uh-huh.
watching their body move and speak, but not in control, like, for lack of a better term, possessed by Anna.
Possessed. Seriously. So the therapist is now looking in the mirror, and it's Anna staring back.
That's exactly what happens. The therapist is stuck in their own body, watching their own reflection being used to taunt them, to challenge them.
Okay, this is officially the creepiest deep dive we've ever done.
It's definitely up there.
Wow.
And the way Anna uses the therapist's body, it's especially disturbing. She points out the irony of the therapist's words, the comfort and validation, saying easy to say when you look the way you do. It's like she's trying to make the therapist feel what it's like to be judged, to be seen through society's expectations about beauty and worth.
That's intense. Like, Anna's making the therapist walk in her shoes, literally. But how does the therapist, how did they react? I mean, they're in a pretty vulnerable spot.
They do something unexpected. Instead of panicking or, fighting back, the therapist looks at themselves, at Anna's reflection, and they say, "I think I look beautiful."
Whoa, they said that while they were possessed. That takes guts.
It does. And it's more than just about looks. The therapist is acknowledging the beauty of Anna's spirit, her resilience, her strength. They're seeing past the anger and resentment to the hurt underneath.
It's like the therapist found the key to, to unlock Anna's prison, not with force or an exorcism, but just human connection.
Exactly. And that connection, that understanding, it's more powerful than anything supernatural. Anna lets go of the therapist. She sighs, this sigh of sadness and relief as she disappears from the mirror.
So just like that, Anna's gone.
Yeah, looks like it. The therapist describes, checking themselves, making sure they were back in their own body, and then they turn to Lucy, who's been watching this whole crazy thing.
I can't even imagine what was going through Lucy's head.
Right. And the therapist asks Lucy if she can still see Anna, and Lucy shakes her head. Anna is gone, and Lucy is finally free, at least for now.
Man, what a ride. But you said for now, so does that mean Anna could come back?
It's not clear. The therapist doesn't know what happened to Anna. Did she find peace? Did she move on? The account leaves it pretty open-ended.
Okay, but what about Lucy? Is she cured of her anorexia? This whole thing had to have some kind of effect on her, right?
It did. The therapist makes it clear that this wasn't some, like, magic cure for Lucy's eating disorder, but it was a turning point, a breakthrough. She could finally start to recover.
So, like, facing her demons literally helped Lucy start to face her own demons
Yeah,
inside.
exactly. But the story doesn't end there. There's one last twist, a chilling twist that leaves us with more questions than answers.
Oh, I knew there had to be another twist. Lay it on me. What happened?
Remember Kristy, the bully?
How could I forget? She's the one who started all of this.
Well, not long after this whole thing with Lucy and Anna, the therapist gets a call from a parent wanting to book a session for their daughter. And that daughter's name, Kristy.
No way. Are you serious? Kristy wants help from the same therapist who helped Lucy. What are the odds?
It's a creepy ending. Makes you think, What does Kristy need help with? Is it guilt over what she did? Is she haunted by Anna? Or is it something worse?
So Kristy, the bully, wants help from the same therapist, the
Yeah.
one who helped Lucy and had that whole possession thing. I mean, really, what are the odds?
Yeah, pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, is this just bad timing? Or is there like a connection? Could this be Anna
Yeah.
reaching out, from beyond the grave, trying to get back at Kristy?
I mean, Anna did say she wanted Lucy and Kristy to suffer, and Lucy seems to be getting better. So maybe now it's Kristy's turn. What do you think?
It's definitely possible. And it makes you think about justice, accountability, especially when you're talking about forces we might not even understand. Can a ghost, can Anna actually, deliver that kind of retribution? Or does it have to happen, in the real world?
That's where I start to get a little uncomfortable. If Anna is real, if she can really affect people, what's to stop her from doing to Kristy what she did to Lucy?
That's a good point. And it puts the therapist in a tough spot.
Yeah.
They already had this intense, life-changing experience with Anna, and now they might be walking into another one with Kristy.
Talk about a rough day at the office, right? I would not want to be in their shoes. But the therapist's role in all this is fascinating. It's like they're a link between the world of the living and the dead, the rational and the paranormal. They have to face their own beliefs, their own understanding of reality while they're going through this.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things we can take away from this deep dive. The way this experience challenges what we think we know about mental health, about, what's real and what's not.
Absolutely. Makes you wonder, right? Are some things we call mental illness actually? Maybe there's something else, something we don't understand yet about psychology and neurology.
Yeah. And it also shows how bullying, it doesn't just affect the victim, it affects the bully too.
Yeah.
Maybe Kristy's coming to the therapist for, something completely different, but it's hard to imagine she's not thinking about what she did to Anna.
I wonder if she's ever even thought that Anna might be haunting her, or maybe that's exactly what she's afraid of.
It's hard to say. The account ends with a phone call. Leaves us hanging,
Yeah.
But I think we can safely say that Kristy showing up at the therapist's office, well, that's the start of a new chapter. And it's probably going to be just as complex and creepy as the last one.
No easy answers, huh? Just more questions and a feeling that something's not quite right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But that's what makes a good deep dive, right? It gives you something to think about long after it's over.
Well, I know I'll be thinking about this one for a while. The lines between what's real and what we think is real, the power of the mind, the possibility that we're all connected in ways we don't even understand. It's a lot.
It is, and we might never have all the answers, but I think this deep dive has shown us, a little bit of what's hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. Reminds us that there's more to the world than we see, and sometimes the biggest truths are hidden in the shadows.
Well said. So, listeners, as you go about your day, I want you to pay attention to how you see things, the echoes of the past, the way things that seem, unconnected might actually be woven together. You never know what you might find lurking just out of sight.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.